Oh yeah! Not Ringo.
I consider myself a lover of nostalgia. A lover of things that I grew up with. Wait, actually that's pretty much the same as lover of nostalgia. Scratch that one. A person who has some faith that movies based off of things I grew up with will turn out to be not exactly as good as the original, but at least okay and decent. Until 2012. When that faith was shattered by a cat who lives in New York. This is the gateway to bullshit that Hollywood has decided to call Top Cat the Movie. This really bad movie, also known as Top Cat and His Gang in Spain, is a 2011 3D Mexican animated movie based off of the popular Hanna-Barbera cartoon series Top Cat. This movie was made due to the show's insane popularity in Spain compared to all the other countries. And boy does this movie blow. The movie basically starts with Top Cat and his friends doing what they do best. But as soon as a new female cat named Trixie comes into the picture, Top Cat tries to put some swinging moves on her. Meanwhile, at the police station, Officer Dibble gets fired by the chief's son-in-law, Strickland, who's bent on taking over the police station by using robots instead of people. Now, where have I heard this plot before? Anyway, he installs security cameras all over the city of New York to make sure that nobody commits any crime on his watch. But when he sees Top Cat as a threat, he frames Top Cat for a crime he didn't commit and gets him sent to dog jail. Really? Why the hell would they send a cat to a dog prison?
That's idiotic.
And it's up to Top Cat's gang, Officer Dibble and Trixie to free Top Cat from dog prison and stop Strickland's evil plans to take over New York. Now this is a story that could work for Top Cat or any other cartoon character that existed in the past. But it all depends on whether it's written right. And this movie is not. As I said, this story could work for another movie, but here it's just cliched and just has every tired joke that you would expect from it. Like the silly cats landing on their feet joke.
Luckily, cats always land on their...
This lightning never strikes twice in the same place joke.
At least lightning never strikes the same place twice.
Well, at least one of the characters actually sounds like the original voice actors. And many others that we've heard a bajillion times before. Okay, so bad jokes is one thing, but what about the characters? Well, to be honest, I find myself not enjoying these characters as much as I did in the original TV series. There's Top Cat, voiced by Jason Harris Katz. So, let me get this straight. Number 274 from Codename Kids Next Door is the voice of Top Cat. And if I'm honest, his voice for Top Cat doesn't suit the character. And I know that he is trying to sound like the original character, but it just doesn't work for me. But on the plus side, they did get someone to sound exactly like Benny for the role of Benny. And all the other characters do try their best to sound like the original actors, but it's just not as good as the original actors. And then there's the villain of the movie, Strickland, who's basically the old-fashioned cliche of many villains that we've seen a bajillion times before. Not good looking, full of himself, very vain, wants to take over the world with technology, and a bunch of other boring stuff we've seen a million times before. This villain's just so cliched that you can pretty much put him in any other movie and it wouldn't change a thing. Then there's his right-hand cat, Trixie, who's become the love interest of Top Cat. And she's basically the old-fashioned cliche of the hench girl working for the villain and then going against the villain when she finds out his true intentions. And she could work for another movie, and some people might really like her. but I just find her to be an old-fashioned cliché of villains we've seen loads of times before. And if you don't like the jokes and the characters so much, then don't worry, there's plenty of other things to hate in this movie. Like the animation. The animation is a mix between 2D characters and 3D backgrounds and vehicles and other objects. But these characters' designs really don't look as good as the original Hanna-Barbera designs. In fact, this style is making the original Hanna-Barbera cartoon look superb. I mean, the original show had better animation than this. And I don't get why they place 2D characters in a 3D world. I mean, that doesn't always work every time you try it. Okay, it worked for the Hanna-Barbera Simulator ride in Universal Studios, but I just don't see it working for a big screen movie, especially one like this. But I have to admit, I do kinda like that they have the original theme song on a big screen movie. And the funny thing is, when this movie was announced, I read a newspaper article saying how bad the animation was, and not one bit of that article talked about the story. So I went to check it out myself to see how the story would be compared to the animation. And it turns out the story itself was as bad as the animation. And because that newspaper article review didn't talk about the story, but instead how crap the animation was, I found out how bad the story was the hard way. And when you go to HMV, the DVDs actually have the nerve to say that it's fun for the whole family. Which I personally think is a pile of bullshit. And as I said in the beginning of this review, this movie was so bad that it made me lose my faith in movies based off of nostalgic things.
Oh man.
And then next year it was the Lego movie that brought back the faith. Yay! Top Cat has become a big household name for many animation fans since its early debut to today. So many people who watched the original show growing up really take it seriously and hate this movie. And who could blame them? Everything about this movie is just half-assed, cheesy, and just downright lazy. I mean, not that I expected the movie to be as good as the TV series, but I did expect something. But instead got one hell of a badly animated, badly written, and just bad movie in general. Hell, just watching the original cartoon show is more exciting than watching this bullshit. And I do know that this movie was made for young children, but that's no excuse. Just because a movie's intended for young children, that doesn't give Hollywood the right not to try. If they're good at something, then they can make anything enjoyable, even if it's based off of something that existed in the past. So if you have kids of your own and you want to introduce them to Top Cat, then I definitely suggest starting with the cartoon, and just staying as far away as possible from this piece of shit movie. You'll thank me for it. And I pray to God that the studio that made that movie does not make another movie based off of Top Cat. It's the Hollywood system.
No. No! No!